We're back. What's up? Welcome to the Monday morning briefing where we analyze the market and how it's constantly tricking me and being fugazi and making me sell when I should buy and making me buy when I should sell. Looking at SPY. I've also got Tesla over here. 5 minute on Tesla. And Tesla's been, it's almost been a widowmaker for me. I've been trying to kill Tesla and short it down through options with put contracts. But it just hasn't been working. But I'm not giving up. We broke the trend. We're retesting a key level, which is $200. Retesting the $200 level. And volume is decreasing at these higher prices. It's that easy. The same thing when we look at SPY. SPY's been last week was scary for me because I took calls, but I sold them too quick. I sold them at 400, and we're at 407 right now. But no trade's perfect. But I took 405 calls. I didn't hold them till we hit my target, and that's where I messed up. I was either being too greedy or I was scared, and I was not prepared. Because when you're prepared, you're not scared. But when you're scared, you're not prepared. Anyways, so today on the 5 minute, if you look at the volume, as you can see, what happens is around 9 o'clock, we see a breakout. And right here on this candle here, this candle actually has increased volume as it's reaching the high of this range here. And that tells me that the increased volume is saying that people are okay with buying at higher prices. And as soon as that was shown, as you can see, we see the break. So that would have been the indication there to grab it for a breakout. And now we're kind of retesting, all that, and we should see a nice volume gap down to 405 again. And I've already got my puts. I actually took puts in this area here around 405.50. I took puts there. And so I'm definitely red on it right now, which is frustrating, but what can you do? And he's here.
Yeah, sorry, my internet just went down. So I was watching the Discord page for you to be online, and it wasn't refreshing. And I was like, something doesn't look right.
His
That's
Starlink went
the
down.
problem. Yeah, I really need Starlink. I have 3 different internet providers, and all of them stuck. But I keep them as backups because you need the internet to trade.
That's right. So, what's the deal?
Oh yeah, what are you looking at today?
I'm just getting, pooped on by SPY and Tesla. Well, I'm just shorting into the buying because I'm just not really I'm still not convinced. But I mean, I made money from last week, so I'm kind of risking that money, but at the same time, I don't want to give the money back, but it's whatever. I mean, I think this is a trade because the volume is almost not validating the move for me. So I'm kind of just like I'm really I'm having my conviction on this one. And I got a little bit farther out expiration dates. So SPY is on the 17th, but Tesla's on the 6th of April for 175, and SPY just took 400s down to or 400s for the 17th, which I think is
Oh, nice.
pretty feasible. But I mean, other than that, Boyle got crapped on, and I'm just loading up into that.
Nice.
Boyle is in a it really gapped down after that news that CPSC is seeking public input on gas stoves because they're well, the news says it's a potential first step towards new rules. So Boyle definitely it gapped down, and but it gapped down to the highest volume price since the beginning of 2023, at least, probably farther back too. Yes. Or yeah, about, but definitely the beginning of 2023. So I took that as an indicator that I'm gonna buy here. But if even if it goes lower, I'm still gonna accumulate more. But I just took another position here around $6. So I'm kind of just waiting.
Nice.
You haven't got any more?
No, I slept in this morning, and then I had a couple trades that I did weekend swings that I set uh, price targets for that would have sold off. TRKA is one of them.
Uh-huh.
And then, oh, there we go. I'm like, I can't access my thing. There it is. And let me see what the other one was.
Dang, TRK is moving right now. Pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, my first alert was at 65 cents to sell off 40% of it.
Uh-huh.
And 75 cents is my second, where I'll sell off another 40%. And then if it hits $1, I'll have 20% to sell.
This thing is looking really good.
Yeah, strong as death. I wish I would have, my huge purchase would have filled, but it did not.
What was that on like a dip buy?
Yeah, I was waiting for it to get back down to 52, and it was at that time it was at 54 cents.
Uh-huh.
And looking at it, I didn't think it was going to happen, but you can never tell, especially when you're in post market.
Yeah.
And then it actually dropped down below 52. It went to 51 and some change, but the order didn't fill. I think it's because it was too big.
Hmm.
I should have pieced it out better,
Dang.
but I didn't want to sit there and wait. So,
This
okay,
thing this
GNS.
thing's looking good. You said GNS?
GNS, yeah, that was the other weekend swing.
Oh yeah, I remember trading this.
Oh, yeah, it's up too. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Cool. I'm gonna have to. I bought it at 369. It's at 414 right now. First price target was $4. Second one's 5.
It looked like it kind of rejected off 5. It kind of this morning actually it wasn't really it really didn't like 5. It said 477 was the high.
Yeah. Yeah, it did not like the 5. But we got all day, so we'll see where it goes. And that is why I scale in and out of trades,
Yeah.
because at least you're making money. So if it never gets to the 5, it doesn't mean that I held the whole position, and then didn't take the profits. I try to profit along the way. That way
Right.
you make smarter decisions.
Get some cash flow and re-enter and rinse and repeat.
Exactly. Here we
Let's
go.
see.
Nice. I'll take that.
What do you think about Mullen?
Let me look at it.
It's back down to the lows. It's near it. The low of actually the lowest it's ever been is 18 cents, and it's at about 22 right now.
All right. Oh man, having the internet down sucks. Okay, there we go. Found it.
And
20.
actually,
What do you say? It's at 18.
yeah, well, it's at 22, but the lowest it's ever been is 18.
Um, I don't think it looks bad. That's close enough where if it was 18, that's only a 4-cent swing. So we're pretty close to bottom.
Yeah.
I don't foresee it going below 18. It might not be a bad swing. Do they have news coming out?
Rapid
Hmm.
Response Defense Systems selects Mullen as the exclusive provider for Class 1 EV cargo vans. This was news last hour.
Oh, dang. And it still hasn't moved up on that news?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know why that would be other than accumulation, but
Yeah,
this
that
would
doesn't
this
make
seems
any
like it
sense.
definitely would be a an accumulative kind of zone we're in right now, because at 18 cents it held there for about a week or so, about almost 2 weeks, and then that was the bottom of the trend. And then when it broke trend on February 13th or February 15th, it broke trend. Now we're at the bottom of this break. So technically, if it stays here, it's making higher highs since it's not breaking 18 or higher lows. Sorry.
Yeah, it should. I would think this is a good position, a good spot to get in on it. That thing's been a beast, and then it wasn't.
I remember when
Doesn't.
you were screaming about it one day, and it was like at 70 cents or something like that, and it fell so hard. I mean, it was after like nosediving
Oh
for
yeah,
almost like 2 months, something like that. Yeah, yeah, almost November, December, almost 4 months, and then like it just popped off randomly, and I remember like telling you, "How did you know?"
yeah,
No, but that was really good. I remember trading that for a while.
yeah, dude. We traded that thing over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
which was awesome. I still have high conviction in it. Unfortunately, retail and then the market makers are playing with it. So it's one of those where you're like, what the heck?
Well, that's kind of one of the things where you got to go to higher time frames and see what's going on in the higher time frame.
Exactly.
Really, all it just looks like is accumulation to me. It's a lot of I mean, it looks almost like XCLA, like it's just got the highest volume ever, and prices are just not moving. But some of these candles and some of this volume is just kind of like it just shows so much indecision. Like it's just a war right now between buyers and sellers. No like one road. I want to see like some crazy candle though. Like I'm looking at the monthly right now, the monthly candles. I want to see something crazy like rejection on high volume or something, and then I'll finally consider as an investment. But I just don't know. I've just been swinging it and scalping it, but nothing right now really tells me that I want to, hold it for an investment.
I have a long term. I can't remember what I paid for it though. Wow, in our group we have 14 pages of MULN conversations. Wow. Yeah, we really did like this one.
Yeah, Mullen is great. I wonder what
Yeah, I'm just going.
anybody in the Discord, what were they asking about? What was that one stock that legalized or made like selling cocaine in Canada?
Oh yeah,
What stock is that?
I
Hold
don't
on.
I don't know if it was specifically a stock. I think it was just oh yeah, it was a
Stock or
company.
company?
There was a specific
X
company.
XTRX.
XTRX.
Is that it?
Who I don't understand. What would that point be to legalizing cocaine?
I don't know. XR.
Yeah, it is. It's the Canadian market because it was Space Grass that put it out there, and then he was
Yeah.
talking about visiting Canada, and I was like, why don't we just move to Canada?
See. Maybe look at Cosmos. What Cosmos is doing. That's just kind of today, though. I mean, it's just like looking at random stuff. I mean, oh my God. I mean, the market is so like indecisive right now. Like
Oh,
the
it's
S&P
insane.
is like just jerking me. Like, I don't know which way to go. I'm like totally convinced it's gonna fall.
I think it's going to fall too.
But news came out a while ago that the Fed wasn't gonna tighten rates, but you know how that goes. I mean, they say that all the time. They said that,
I know. I thought they say, "Oops."
yeah, and then they're just like, well, now we have to. Now the data says this, but I mean, we heard it in, I think before November. We heard it when the Fed was like, we can't, or what did they say? I don't know if it was the Fed, but somebody said something about how the Fed was wasn't able to tighten rates, or sorry, wasn't able to raise rates more because it was going to damage the economy. Or they had an emergency meeting. That's what it was. They had an emergency meeting, and they said that, or it was about how raising the rates was affecting the global economy. So I think we heard something like that again in the beginning of March, beginning of this month. And
What?
that's why we're seeing this kind of move. But I'm just still not convinced that it's anything other than like a short term trend.
Oh yeah, and well, and it usually is a short-term trend. It's like the Feds think that we haven't seen this before. This is the first verge of recession that we've had.
It's mine.
Happens.
It's definitely
Oh
mine.
yeah, yeah.
But I need your wisdom. I mean, because I just don't know. For me, it seems like I was just bullish at 350 on the SPY because I said, okay, that's definitely too low. We were falling, falling, falling. Now we're at a level where I can see it retesting 420, but that's like resistance. So how it acts getting to 420 is important. And right now from 350 to 420, it's been stair stepping. So I'm just so confused because at 400 it was definitely like a strong resistance, but we burned right through it at the start of 2023, that trend all the way until February. We just burned right through 400. And now we're kind of like hanging out around 400. So that's why my theory was that we're not going to get to 420. We're just going to, like, 400's too strong of a zone. It's going to hang out there and possibly go lower. And if it goes lower, it'll actually break the trend from 350. And then from there, let me come back out a little bit. I don't know. The highest volume price is 400 since the beginning of the recession. So if it
Hmm.
breaks it from there, I can see it going down to like 380. But I don't know about 350 anymore. If it did do that, it would have to be like something crazy.
See, I I think they're doing a good job, but we're trying to put us into a recession. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see the big dip. I don't think we're going to have a choice, only because the market is so overinflated right now. Like when you look at some of the stocks, you're like, there's no way that that company is worth that. There's no way that the shares are worth that. I mean, and the perfect example is look at Tesla.
Yeah.
The company doesn't ever make money, but damn, that price always shoots up, and you can always make money on Tesla.
Yeah. But I guess the thing is, like, does the S&P 500 just keep going up like that though?
I don't think so. I don't think it will.
Cuz
I mean,
in
it would be
2008,
crazy if it did.
it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and again, that was another similar situation. That was with the big mortgage crash.
But the charts
So we
almost
could
look
use that.
Do the charts look different though? I think they look a little bit different. I think it looks different.
Mm.
See, I'm not so
You mean a
convinced.
comparison between?
Yeah, I'm looking at 2008 to now, and this one almost looks like we're forming like a cup and handle. The one we're in now, and it's almost like let me get rid of all my stupid drawings. It almost looks like we did bottom at 350. That's just what it looks like to me. But the thing is that 350 is like an extremely low volume zone. So if we ever broke 350, we'd be headed to 270 or,
See,
or
and
250.
I think twos is reasonable. I don't I don't think that's totally off the table yet. Last year, I predicted we would see 230 by the end of the recession, and I'm still holding pretty close to that.
You could be
I
right
hope not,
because
but
technically if this was the bottom, we would see like a lot of volume. But as of right now, since I'm looking at the weekly, it's still kind of, we broke the downtrend. That's for sure. We broke that upside of the downtrend, but it doesn't mean we're not going to retest and keep retesting and keep retesting all the way down. I mean, that's happened before, and many times it happens. But what I think is that since the volume isn't like how do you say this? We're technically at resistance right now, right? Which is like 400. 400 is like a key. It definitely is a key zone. We should see volume increase here. If 350 was the bottom, we should see volume increase. But right now, it still looks like there's a trend down in volume. But if 350 was the bottom, there should have been an extreme spike in volume. But there was only like a medium, it was like an average spike in volume. Nothing like COVID's spike in volume. COVID's spike in volume said, yeah, there's no way this is sustainable. But this volume is just saying, like, as prices go down, volume's going down, which doesn't make sense if it was gonna continue higher soon, or bounce soon. That's the key word, is soon, right? Because
Right.
if we were to keep trending down like this, what would show me that a bottom would be is that we see prices decreasing, but volume is significantly increasing. That would tell me that people are saying this is too cheap. But right now it's like, it's not even like prices came down and then they bounced, but volume never hit higher than the sell-off in the beginning of 2022. It never hit higher than that. Because if whoever was selling in the beginning of 2022 is getting ready to buy, their whatever, I don't know, big banks, Goldman Sachs, institutions, whatever, getting ready, or the Fed, even the Fed sold. If they're getting ready to buy back, where's that volume? It's either spread out, and it's not at one point, because that one point could have been like a news or a situation where that's what created that spike, and it's spread out over many, 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 weeks or months. Which that could be the case now, is that that's the reason why we have, not one section which is higher volume, which still doesn't make sense, because 350 was technically the bottom. It should have been some pretty good volume there, but it wasn't. So because we're at this 400 resistance right now, there definitely needs to be an increase of volume if we're gonna break that. And because prices are quote unquote technically high right now. These are high prices, so volume should be low, which it is. But if for some reason we start seeing an increase in volume within the next week, I don't know, month, I don't know, whether we start seeing increase of volume, then that's where we got to look at the price and say, what is the price doing? Is the price moving with the increase of volume, or is the price rejecting off of someplace? Right now, it's telling me that it's rejecting, but it could still break. So I'm like, I just don't know, but I hope you know, because I'm like asking. I'm not telling. I have no clue right now. But what makes the most sense to me is that everybody's dollar cost averaging. That's what makes the most sense to me right now.
Right there it is. We may see 410 before the dump.
But we've seen that. We saw that already. We saw 420.
Yeah,
So
I
if
think.
it
Well,
goes
Paulo.
to, if it hits 410, I'm almost changing my bias now, because that means it tested that 410 resistance 1, 2, 3, almost 4 times. you know? And I mean,
Yeah.
let's say technically we're at 410 already. 407, whatever, that's close enough. But I'm looking at the weekly. Technically, we've tested it 4 times, but we've only tested the area around 420. We've only tested that twice. So, but every time that it shot up past 410 and went to 420, we saw low volume again. So this time it could be different if we hit 420, but the volume's increased. Now I'm scared. Now I might want to change my bias. But right now, I mean,
Huh.
it's still just looking like there's like whoever sold at the beginning of 2022, I'm sure they'd leave a footprint, right? I don't see the footprint, is what I'm saying. I don't see any footprint of anybody buying.
Right. Um, you know what? I don't disagree with that. I think what we're running into is people are trading the SPY more short term than they are long term. Because normally the SPY is a long term play,
Right.
um, but people are playing it to make money. Here and now in the moment, like 1 day swings, 2 day swings. Even day trades, and
Uh-huh.
I think that's really messing up the potential of what the SPY could do because people are jumping out when it hits their price targets, and that's why we're not seeing it push past it. But I do think we might see 410, 412. Then Powell's going to speak, and then it'll drop back down. Wash, rinse, repeat. Same every single time. And I think people are waiting for that because they load up once it drops back down, knowing it's going to run back to the 405, 407, 410, maybe even 412 area, and then it'll get smacked back down again. I think this is controlled,
Yeah.
which, the feds should help control the market because it is so overpriced right now, anyways. Granted, everything dropped when the pandemic started and everything was underpriced, but when everything ran, it got ridiculous.
So what they're not going to print more money, are they?
No, I hope not. According to them, they're not. Which, um, if they did, that would be like crazy for inflation. And I think right now they're on the defensive, trying to prevent inflation from going higher, which it's going to. I still don't think we've seen the top of it yet. I just saw a statistic yesterday that said uh, groceries are 38% more expensive than they were at the beginning of the pandemic. And then the federal government, now that they've called that we are out of a pandemic phase, they took back all the free money that they were giving everybody to make sure they eat. Well, people aren't making more money. Some of them are still unemployed. And the price of food is almost 40% higher than it was. And they're going to go ahead and starve all these families out, which I think we'll see that with retail. People are going to shop less as far as like, they track what you spend on groceries, on clothing, on diamonds, things like that. I think people are going to pull back and save the money for the groceries. So that alone will hurt inflation because less people will put money out there.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
I'm
I
just
can't
gonna.
believe we're alive during.
I know, right? I wonder what AutoZone's doing. If they've even been nicked. No.
That company is strong as death.
I just don't
Wow, they're back
understand.
up to 25. I don't get it either. That's insane, man.
The fucking car market.
Dude,
I can't
it,
believe this. Oh
It's
my
so
god.
crazy. I guess people have to buy car parts because they can't afford to get new cars. The average trade cycle is 39 months. So if you bought a car at the beginning of the pandemic, normally you'd be trading it in around now, but you can't. So you just make the repairs to keep it on the road. That's the only thing I can think of.
But when's the downside?
It's got to happen.
I mean, the
Uh,
volume's decreasing as the price is increasing.
I think when the car market drops, because it's so overinflated right now. People are same thing with the housing market, but people are paying these astronomical prices for used cars, and it's like eventually it's got to catch up. And all those people that paid 50% more than the car is valued at, they're going to take big hits, and it'll sink the car market. Then everything will be worth like nothing. And with that, then people will go buy cars. So that's when AutoZone will tank, because instead of fixing them, they will go ahead and just replace them because it'll be cheap enough again.
I mean, there's like all the volumes at like 1K, anywhere from 2021, 2022 to now. I mean, it's just a fraction of the volume at from like 2019 to 2020. It's just a fraction.
Yeah. Dang, man.
It's probably like one, two, it's almost the volume from that time, 2020, 2021, at about $1,000 is 5 times the volume that we've seen since every other price above 1,000.
Wow.
So that tells me that as his prices are going up, I mean, less people are buying, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it's not you can just short it, you know.
That's true.
I wish I could just
You,
short it, but or maybe I
you'd
should
have to short it long.
because I'm scared. Maybe we should just do it.
Man, I can't believe the amount of people buying a $2,500 stock. That's insane.
I mean, it's almost like Tesla.
Yeah, dude, Tesla blows my mind.
I can't believe it. I mean, it's in 2020, it was the peak of 2020 was $50. And then the
And
peak of 2022 was $400.
yeah, it's crazy. I remember before the first forward split, it hit almost $2,800. And I was like, wow, how? But, I guess they do a lot more than just make cars. Tesla's focus is sustainable energy to, that won't harm the planet. So, they're involved in everything.
I mean, just in just from I mean the low from 2019 was 1180. $11. And then the high from and then 2 years later, it's $415. Imagine that.
Dude, and that's because of the forward splits. Think if they never split, what that thing would be at. Because it went 1 for 5, and then it went 1 for 3. So that sucker would be up there. So you take the price now times 8. So it's roughly 200. So it'd be $1,600 currently
Can't
if they
believe it.
would have never done those. But dude, I love that stock. I'm still holding for 2,500 though. I'm not selling a share until then.
That's
Occasionally, I'll play
nuts.
it on the daily, but I got a lot of faith in Elon Musk. As crazy as that guy is, anything he touches turns to gold.
Volume's there, man.
Dude, I started using Twitter just so I could see what Elon Musk posts on it.
Uh,
He's pretty funny.
he's not bad. I like Elon. I can't comprehend how smart that guy is.
Uh, he made his first video game like at 12 years old.
Wow.
All right, I'm looking back at TRKA at the volume.
What's that doing?
It's sitting steady around 68 cents.
I see, I see.
It's
Looks like
at
there's a volume gap down to 62 right now. It might flush, which is where
I
VWAP
think it's
is.
going to.
Yeah, I think so too. Just because it's decreasing volume as it's coming down to these lower prices. It means
Yep.
nobody's buying. Nobody wants to buy it right now.
Man, I called that stock at 14 cents, almost 15 cents at the end of January.
What the
And
heck?
then I ended up selling it at 30 cents because 100% runner.
Uh
Come
huh.
on, you got to take it. And then brought it back in on Friday. My first scale out was at 65 cents this morning.
Oh, here comes the flush.
Yep. No.
Have you've been reading that book that I keep recommending in the in the Discord?
Haven't read it yet, but it's on my list of books to read.
I'm on my second read and I can't believe how much I missed. Like I'm even just reading the first couple pages, I've learned so much more than the first time. You know how books go, like you miss stuff when, and
Yeah, I know.
a lot of
Over and
the
over.
a lot of the beginning is about market makers and how they mark up prices and mark down prices and stuff like that depending on supply and demand. And man,
Yes.
it's fantastic. You really would love to read it. It's a lot of it's stuff like you already know, but just hearing it from somebody that can articulate it really well, it's almost like a reminder that every trader needs. And it's like, it really refreshes. I would highly recommend reading it, bro.
I will. Dude, those market makers, man. Nothing happens without those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they're basically they're the store owners of the stock. They determine the price.
Right.
That's exactly what they do. And they determine it off of supply and demand and how much inventory they have. That's what it is. So if they have too much inventory, naturally they want you to buy it. And if they have too little inventory, naturally they want you to sell it back to them.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
That the book tells everything about that. And that's how I learned all this. Was just from reading that book once. And now I'm gonna read it and go through it again. It's gonna be even stronger in my brain. So I would, man, it's a really good, because Dave, she's got a part about the Uncle Joe, the parable of Uncle Joe. Okay, so Uncle Joe, let's see, he distributed widgets. Okay, Uncle Joe he had a company that distributed widgets, and it does so under licensing from the government. So it's been buying and selling its unique widgets for many years. And these widgets have an intrinsic value. They never break. and the number in circulation at any one time is much the same. Okay. So she's basically saying that they don't decrease in value like naturally. It's all everything's like stable in this market is basically what she's saying. So, being a reasonably clever man with many years of experience managing his business, the Uncle Joe soon realized that just buying and selling his widgets to the customers was rather dull. The amount of money he made each time he bought and sold was quite small, and the number of transactions per day was low. So she's making a story about Uncle Joe is basically a market maker. Okay. So in addition, he also had the expenses of running his office, his warehouse, and his staff. So something had to be done. He wanted to make some more money. Okay. So after giving the problem some thought, he wondered what would happen if he mentioned to a neighbor that widgets would soon be in short supply. He knew his neighbor was a terrible gossip, so this was almost as effective as putting an advertisement in the local paper. He also knew from checking his warehouse that he had enough stock to meet any increased demand, should his plan be successful. And the next day, like, he told his neighbor and mentioned his concerns and begged his neighbor to keep it to himself, but he knew the neighbor was going to tell everybody. So after a week or so, sales started to pick up, and customers came in and were buying in larger quantities because they thought that it was going to be in short supply. So everybody was like, oh, we got to buy more. We got to buy more. Then after a week or so, the customers are happy, and they knew that widgets would be in short supply, and he was happy because he was selling more. Then he started to think. He said, with everyone buying his widgets, what would happen if he raised his prices? After all, he was the only supplier, and demand was high at the moment. The following day, he announced price increases, and his customers continued to buy in larger quantities. So as the price increased, more people were buying because they got even more scared. That's basically what market makers, that's what they do. They
Dude,
control,
that's
you know?
that is so that's such a great way to explain the market makers. And that goes back to your two types of traders. You're either a catalyst trader or you're a momentum trader. No
Uh-huh.
other choices there. And the story you just told is totally momentum. And this is where I categorize probably 80%, maybe 90% of retail investors like us,
Uh-huh.
people that just do it on the side. They're momentum traders. And which is how we've been able to make so much money in this market. Because if a stock is running, look at AutoZone, for example. People are paying $2,475 to ride that stock up to $2,500.
Uh-huh.
So you just risked 1,000% possibility to make $25.
Yeah.
Like, 1%. You put all that money in there. Well, that's where momentum traders come in,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know how to read the technical analysis, the volume, the charts, things like that. All they see is people are buying it, and the price keeps going up, and the fear of missing out kicks in, and they chase it. And these people have no idea why the stock's running,
Yeah.
how far it's gonna run to,
Yeah.
and then and so they just jump in because they get all excited. And I'm sure you've been there. I've been there.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like, oh
know.
my god,
We've all been
this
there.
this yeah, this thing's gonna get to 1 million. I need to buy it now. Oh, I should have bought it when it was $10 cheaper. I better buy it now. So that story is perfect because that's
Right.
exactly what happens.
But that explains accumulation. What happens with accumulation, right? That explains that. Now
Yes.
here's what happens with this to be. So this was all good news for Uncle Joe until one day he realized with some alarm that his warehouse was now looking empty. He also started to notice that the volume of sales each day was decreasing. He decided to keep moving prices up so everyone would think that the situation was unchanged. But now he had a new problem. His original plan has been too successful. How on earth was he going to persuade all his customers to sell widgets back to him so he could continue in business? So he pondered this problem for a few days, and then quite by chance, he met his neighbor again. And the man drew him to one side and inquired whether the rumor he heard was true. Inquiring into what that rumor might be, Uncle Joe learned that his neighbor had heard that another, much bigger widget distribution company was setting up business in the area. Being clever, Uncle Joe realized that Providence had given him the answer on a plate. Appearing crestfallen, he admitted that the rumor was true and that his business would suffer badly. More importantly, widget values were likely to drop dramatically in price. So Uncle Joe chuckled to himself after they stopped talking at having such good fortune, and was so glad of that coincidence that he was talking to his neighbor about that other rumor. Within days, he had queues of customers outside his warehouse doors begging him to buy back their widgets. With so many people selling, he dropped his prices quickly, making people even more desperate to sell before their widgets became worthless. As the prices fell further, more and more people cracked under the pressure. Uncle Joe was now buying back an enormous volume of widgets. After several weeks, the panic selling was over, as few people had been brave enough to hold out under the pressure. Now, Uncle Joe could start to sell widgets again at their old levels from his warehouse full of stock. He didn't mind if it was quiet for a few months, as he made a great deal of money very quickly. He could afford to take it easy. And he was thinking one day, everyone forgot eventually what the rumors were about, and life returned to normal after a while, And now Uncle Joe started to think one day, he wonders if he could do it again. So that's the story of Uncle Joe, and how Uncle Joe's a market maker, and how they control prices by creating fear. And
Dude, that was awesome.
but this is all in the book. There's more stories like that. The reason why this book is so good is because, and for everyone that's listening, if you don't know what book I'm talking about, it's by Anna COULLING. Okay, it's called A Complete Guide to Volume Price Analysis, and it says on the book, read the book, then read the market. I can't explain how good that tells you everything about this book, because this book doesn't teach you when to buy and sell. It teaches you how to think about the people that, or it teaches you how to see whether this is buying or whether this is selling. Because we see consolidation and we see prices going up, but we don't stop and think, is there selling into this buying? We don't stop and think about that. We don't see consolidation and see, is this selling into buying or is this buying into selling? That's what this book teaches you. It teaches you how to differentiate that by using volume price analysis. So that's why it's super important to read this book and read this book and read this book and read this, because these are things that have been it's never been changed in the market. Some things will always be the same, and you can take this info to any market because it teaches you supply and demand like that. It teaches you accumulation distribution, which before reading this book, I had no clue. I had no clue what I was doing. Just trading and trying to, make a quick buck here and there, never stopping to think, okay, who is buying and who is selling? That's what's most important. So that's why I highly recommend this book by Anna COULLING. called The Complete Guide to Volume Price Analysis. You can find it on Amazon, and it's a great book. You need to read
That,
it. You know,
oh, absolutely,
I
man.
spam this book in the Discord because this is the only book I spam because this book changed my trading. You know, and I've read some few other books, but they're almost about the same kind of things. You know, they're about trading strategies or investing strategies, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't about how the market really works. And after reading this book, now I know how it works. So that's why I recommend it.
Nice. Yeah, it definitely sounds like it would be beneficial for everybody to read that book.
Yeah.
I'm 6 years into trading, and I still consistently watch training videos, read different books, different articles, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you make it second nature, and you're on the book for the second time. Like, we're pretty soon, and I don't know if you're at this point yet. I would think so. I can look at a ticker, I can look at the chart, and I don't say, okay, what's the technical analysis? What is the moving average, things like that, 52-week low, whatever RSI. I just look at the ticker and I know within 30 seconds, I'm like, oh, I've seen this pattern, bam, bam. And more than likely, it's going to follow through because for some reason, stocks follow patterns.
Yeah.
So if you can get that information into your head and make it second nature, you could literally trade one day a week, maybe for an hour or two, and you could make a killing.
Right. Yeah.
Which, I proved that last week. That one day I made almost 1,200% of the portfolio. It's like everything I hit. This was 2 weeks ago. Everything I touched, it, it was insane.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, that's just the beauty of being a trader. The more you know, the more you earn. Or the more you
Yes,
learn, the more you earn. You know,
I like it.
it's unfortunate that not a lot of jobs are like that. You know, you kind of plateau, and so but being a trader, I mean, it's linear like that. But not really, because you do get some slippage after a while. After your account gets big enough, you do experience slippage. You can't trade as many shares as you would like, so you do kind of cap your trading at some point. But until then, it's pretty linear.
Yes.
Anyways, man, um, unless you got anything else to kind of comment on or any current events, I think I'm basically good. I mean, like I said, I just have no clue what the S&P is doing right now. I guess it's just running into the Fed meeting, and we'll see a dump from there. But
When do you know when the meeting is?
let me look at the calendar, the economic calendar. I think it's I think it's here soon. Let's see. San Francisco's Fed speaks today at 1 Eastern time. Um, Powell testifies to the Senate tomorrow at 10 Eastern time. Also, wholesale inventories come out tomorrow at 10, and consumer credit comes out tomorrow at 3. This is all Eastern time. I'm looking for the meeting. Jobless claims is on Thursday at 8:30 next week. CPI's next week at 8:30. PPI's next week on Wednesday at 8:30. Housing starts are on Thursday of next week at 8:30. Um, Still looking. different Feds speaking different days, but I don't really see a I don't really see a FOMC.
Which calendar are you looking at?
Did the economic calendar on the Market Watch?
Ooh, I thought you would have went to current events and looked at the calendar I post. There we go. Unemployment rate. Okay, this is Thursday, March 9th. Wait, I think. Okay, here we go. Tuesday, March 7th. Okay, yeah, it's tomorrow at 10 a.m.
What is FOMC?
Yeah, well, Fed Chair Powell testifies.
Is that FOMC?
Um, yeah, it's going to be part of it. I don't think it's going to be the same thing. It's the same concept,
Okay.
except that Congress is probably grilling them to make sure that they're doing everything that's benefiting the economy. The United States. How do you justify your rate hikes? How do you justify printing your money? That
Uh-huh.
that will be. I'm pretty sure that's what
I
they're
see.
looking for. So Tuesday. So tomorrow at 10, Powell's going to testify, and then Wednesday at 10, Powell's going to testify again. So I'm assuming they will probably do uh, like a press release afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
and then that will tell us what Powell really thinks. Because, like you said earlier, they're like, "Oh no, we can't raise rates because it'll hurt us." Oh, changed our mind. We're going to raise rates. We
Yeah.
realized it's not going to hurt us. They're going to go through all of that with him, I'm sure, and make sure that he's justified in his actions.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't see an FOMC meeting though.
Right.
So
Right.
it's it's got to be Powell testifying.
And there's another one. He testifies to the House on Wednesday, but he testifies to
Yes.
to the Senate tomorrow.
Okay. So Senate then House.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then we
And
get
then
unemployment rates on Friday and jobless claims on Thursday.
yes. Okay. See, you got it. I always look at all of that stuff before I trade every day, just
Uh-huh.
to see what catalyst might move the market.
Uh-huh.
The same thing with the futures. The first two things I do when I grab a computer or my phone or whatever it is, I always check the futures first to kind of get an idea of which way the market's headed. Because you got to keep in mind the rest of the world besides us is a day ahead of us for trading.
Yeah.
So how they trade some of our commodities and equities in their market kind of helps us be able to tell what's going to happen for the day in our market,
Uh-huh.
because usually every stock market follows each other. But a good um, point of reference is check the DAX, DAX. It's the German stock market.
Uh-huh.
We follow that to a T.
Really?
So, yes. And it's probably because we helped them set it up. Since the ball.
Right. Well, other than that, man, I think I'm good to go. Uh, you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, no, I think that's good.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we'll see you next Monday, and we'll see what Powell says and whether or not we're gonna go bankrupt. You know,
Right. Again, go
again.
bankrupt again. Cool,
Anyways,
buddy. It's good talking to you, man.
yeah, good talking to you. Talk to you later.
Sounds good. Bye.